Hello there. Well, today we're going to talk about age and aging, and the kind of raison d'être of the whole conversation today is that on Thursday, in just a few days, I'm turning 70, and clearly, many people my age, people turning 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, are redefining those ages. I remember when my mom was turning 60, and my mom's no longer with us, but I remember back in the day, she's 25 years older than I was. When she turned 60, she considered, and I think the American population at large considered 60 old age. And now we don't. 60 is right dead center of middle age. What does that make 70? Clearly every individual is different. Some people have lived very healthy lives and eaten well all their lives, and so they've got a better chance, and there's genetics that always mixes in, but they've got a better chance at 70 at seeming quite young. I know I feel quite young at 70, but there are now people at 80 redefining that age. Bonnie's mother is 93, and I'm telling you, Bonnie's mother gets out and walks a 15-minute mile for 5 miles with, no lack of balance issues, nothing, just really strides along. But we can surely find lots of 93-year-olds who are struggling with all kinds of ill health and inabilities to do things anymore. And if you talk to geneticists, we are going to be starting to live over 100. Many of us, if you have read the Blue Zones, and it talked about, the people who study centenarians, people over 100 around the world, especially in what they call the Blue Zones. People live to a very healthy over 100 without needing glasses, without needing hearing aids of any sort, without using any kind of walking sort of assistance like a cane, over 100 years old. But other geneticists will tell you that we spend much too much time, in the Western world anyway, in extending our lifespans, but not extending the quality of our lives. So who wants to live to 115 if for those last 20 years of your life, if not more, you're bedridden, you have no activity anymore, no quality of life? So yes, we want to extend our lives and live these precious days, as many of them as we can, but we want to live them with vitality, don't we? So I'm really curious today to find out, those of you, especially in the ballpark of my age, let's say over 60, it doesn't matter if some of you are calling in younger, if millennials are calling in to talk about your parents and your grandparents and how well they've done, but I'd like to hear about it. And I guess it's no secret that, you all know that fitness and being kind of at a badass level of fitness has always been my core value. I do, of course, value my friends and nature and all kinds of things in this life, but number one is taking care of the temple of my body. And I like to think that the reason I feel strong, I feel fit, I feel agile, I wake up with a boost of huge energy every day is because all my life from virtually age 5, I have valued moving every day and challenging myself physically so that muscularly and cardiovascularly, and now, in an agility sort of way also, I'm keeping my youth as long as I can keep it, even up to age 70. So Gabby's with me today. You all know Gabby. Let's hear from Gabby.
Hi.
There's Gabby, just across from me right here. We have people checking in, Gabby?
Yep, we do. Christopher Kai has some input. He said 200 years ago, our life expectancy was just 40.
Wow. First of all, Christopher Kai is an awesome young man who every Monday goes to the downtown homeless shelter in LA. As many people know, the homeless population of LA has now reached 60,000. We are in dire straits in this city in terms of taking care of the homeless. And Christopher Kai, a young man, by the way, nowhere near my age. Christopher, how old are you? I don't think you're half my age. I don't think you're 35 yet. Christopher, every Monday, and Bonnie and I have gone with him a couple of times, goes to the downtown shelter, especially the kids, and he brings guests like me and Bonnie in to tell their stories of hope, and we listen to those kids about what they want to do with their lives. And all of them want to do something. They do. They want to get out from under where they are. So, Christopher, I'm a big fan of yours. Thank you so much for weighing in. Right? 40 was the lifespan. Your teeth and your bones and your vitality was like over by the age of 25 at that time. So, yeah, we are extending. Who else we got, Gabby? Hi, Christopher.
Rita Doe Smith Cavender said her 74th birthday is tomorrow.
Rita, how are you feeling at 74? Come on. You know, yeah, I'm very young. I thank you for making me feel young. You know, my joke is when I meet people who are like 65. I met a woman this morning. She's turning 65 this week. And I said, oh, it must be nice to be young. 65. I remember 65. Those were good times. They really were. So if you're turning 74, I love it. Write in during the session and tell me how you're doing at 74.
Gina Newfield says, you're still like the college girl I knew then.
Gina, what up? I was doing terrible delinquent things as a college person. I must say, you know, I do feel I've gotten better in every area of my life, including that I'm more civil and better behaved at this age.
Kathy McManus Holdstaffel says, happy birthday, don't sweat 70. I read the book I've decided to live 120 years by Ilchi Lee and have already decided to go to 140. So I'm like a toddler on life number 2.
Oh my God. But I ask you, it's not the number we want to get to, right? It's staying healthy and vital. You know, believe me, if I could be 120 and still out, you know, going and boogie boarding in the ocean and walking around the mountains, I'm all for it. But if I'm going to be 120 and, you know, bedridden, I don't want it.
Sarah Wanzer says, I'm 62 and feel 40. I swim laps.
There you go. You know, swimming is an elixir, isn't it? I mean, you know, I took it to an extreme level, and we all know that. But now that I'm just a swimmer part-time, just like to keep my stroke together, like to keep that meditative exercise going, along with all the other things I like. The long-distance walking is clear. A week from today, and Gabby's our event executive producer, Bonnie and I are starting to lead our 4th epic walk. We're going from Philadelphia, 135 miles down to Washington, D.C., from the first capital of America to the current capital of America. We're going to do a beautiful city tour of all the great iconic spots of Philadelphia, the Rocky Art Museum steps, Ben Franklin's gravesite, and all of that. And we're going to walk down through Delaware, through the Maryland, beautiful iconic farmland, across the Mason-Dixon line into Baltimore. And Baltimore has taken a bad rap lately. And Gabby can tell you that we've all been there sussing out Baltimore. And yes, Baltimore in some parts has fallen on some hard times. It's a tough, rugged city. And on the other hand, it has huge history, and it has a harbor front that's been completely redone. And so we want to stand up for Baltimore as we walk through and say, this is still one of America's great cities. And if it has fallen upon hard times, let's not diss it. Let's get in and show the beautiful parts of Baltimore and still go there. We're staying in a hotel where out our windows you can see all of Camden Yards, which has been completely redone, the Baltimore Orioles home. So we're going to showcase what's good about Baltimore. And then we're going to walk right into Washington, D.C. and that last day do a city tour through Arlington Cemetery. And I don't know what this had to do with aging. Oh, that's right. We're leading a walk next week, starting with next week. So I'm playing tennis, which is a game I love. I'm pretty lousy at it, but I love it. Bonnie's a lot better at it, and she loves it too. And we're, you know, believers in walking clearly. You get out in the great outdoors. And the swimming, though, we get back to you. And the swimming, though, saves your joints, not only it's meditative and all those things, but it builds, parts of the body that you don't get doing most other exercise, your shoulders, etc. But more than anything, it's a sport for longevity. People who swim wind up not being as injured and not tearing down their bodies, and being able to do that exercise all the way till they are 100. This is my neighborhood. Somebody's just going by outside with a little horn. Hello?
Lucia Speroni says, Diana, you're a great inspiration. When you arrived to the other shore in your epic swim from Cuba to Key West, you said three things that are awesome life lessons. Do you have any other life lessons to share with the audience?
So to quickly, thank you, Lucy. And those people don't remember those. They're simple. The first one was never, ever give up. I had tried that epic quest for 35 years and finally made it at the age of 64. So that's the first thing. I was kind of dazed on that beach. I didn't know what was going to come out, and that's the first thing that came out. Never, ever give up. The second thing was you're never too old to chase your dreams. And isn't that true? And the third thing was it looks like a solitary sport, but it takes a team. And isn't that true? No matter what we do, we don't do it alone. So those are the three things. And I think one other life lesson that I always keep in mind, and it's sort of a mantra for me, and that is engage. We could, almost all of us could make our living, and have a real small cadre of friends and family, and go into our nice homes that we've built and we've earned, and lock our door, and not worry about the neighbors, not worry about the environment, not worry about planet Earth, and just live our little private lives and enjoy ourselves, and not care about what's going on with the rest of the world, including our own friends and family and neighborhoods. And I am a big believer in engagement. Engagement, as they say. I know a lot of people say to me, things always happen to you. As if I've run into somebody or a coincidence has happened. The reason they happen to me is that I'm out. I don't sit in my house and lock my door. I'm out. I know all my neighbors. I know the city I live in, and it's part of the walking movement that Bonnie and I are on, Everwalk. It's to engage. It's to be out and wave hello at your neighbor and, hey, what happened? Is your mom okay? So I'm big into engage. That's a life mantra and a life lesson I truly believe makes the world a better place. Engage.
Jean Golden says, what do you think will be your greatest challenge in the next decade? What do you anticipate with joy? What do you fear? And how do you handle your fears for the future?
Okay, Jean, only you. Jean is a poet friend of mine, by the way, a very talented poet. And if any of you know me, you know that I don't take to poetry easily. It's like above me and beyond me. But Jean writes some poems that really hit me, similar to Mary Oliver's poems, actually. So Jean, I'm kind of forgetting what you asked in there, but what are the biggest challenges over the next 10 years? I don't look at them as physical aging problems. I mean, and I'm still, extremely fit, and that level of energy comes. But what I worry about is that you think that the atomic clock, is set in a clearly empirical way. Every day, 1 second is 1 second, 1 minute is 1 minute, 1 hour is 1 hour. But as you age, and I know, Jean, you and I are about exactly the same age, it seems a mirage, but you look at the clock and it's ticking faster. So I don't worry about being 70. I don't worry about what I've done and now how I'm preparing myself to be capable to do anything emotionally, physically, intellectually. What I worry about is the end, not death, just the loss of this vitality. And clearly, how can I kid myself? 80 and 90 and 100 are probably going to bring up signs and particular physical issues. The bones and the muscle and the organs and the brain and the heart, they don't go on forever. And so they start having their little frailties, each year. So that's what I don't worry about in advance, but I'm just doing my best. I'm dancing as fast as I can, eating as well as I can. I must say, as I've gotten older, I've eaten. I've learned about food, and I'm eating better to treat this body as best I can. There's a quick funny story as an aside. There's a health food vitamin store down the block from here, and I don't take many vitamins, but I would go in there occasionally, and there was a guy named John. He was an Englishman, and he taught me a lot. I learned a lot about antioxidants from him, etc. And one day I went in and he wasn't there, and there was an Indian fellow, and he told me that he bought the shop and John had left. And I said, I didn't get a chance to thank John for everything I learned from him. He said, oh, well, he went back to England. His mother's in poor health. I'll get you an email address from him. So that was fine. And he said, now listen, I know nothing. The Indian fellow said, I know nothing about nutrition. I just bought this shop as an investment. So I'm going to bring in some knowledgeable people, and you'll meet them eventually. I said, oh, great. So I went to get a little something. I put on the counter at the front, and he was bending down on the other side of the counter to get a bag. And as I, was waiting for him, I looked over. He was down there, and he said, now don't forget, it is not just what you are eating that is important. What you are taking, the vitamins. You must be careful what you are eating as well. Very important, what you are eating, your nutrition. So I called over as he was down on the other side, and I said, well, yeah, you are what you eat. And he came up and he said, what did you say? I said, you are what you eat. And he said, that is brilliant. I said, you've never heard that before? You own a health food store and a vitamin store? He said, I have never heard it. So he said, you mind? I'm going to put in the front window. I said, just don't put my name on it, because almost everyone knows that expression. And I must say, as I'm getting older, hamburgers, pizza, cake and ice cream, I'm not a completely never, but it's getting to be rare that I want to burden my system with all that stuff. So I think over this next decade, I am going to get cleaner and cleaner as far as eating goes, because I can't do any better on the exercise front. And I forget, Jean, you're just too deep. I forget all those other things you asked. What I fear, I guess I fear getting to the end and not doing it all and being it all.
Gabriella Greco says, having cerebral palsy, as you know I do, aging and vitality is a common topic of discussion, seeing as it happens to come quicker for our bodies especially. The reality of it all is that has been hanging in the wings a lot more frequently for me. I feel it. My muscles are in breakdown status. So I decided to absolutely not fall victim to that truth. I've been extensive physical therapy, acupressure, and of course I'm continuing to walk when I can. I think of you every single PT session. I even made Dr. Chris Hang find a way on the wall so I can stare at it during the toughest sessions. I will not give up. By the way, I'll see you September 9th.
Gabrielle, you are so darn inspiring. Gabrielle's a friend, and we've walked together several times, and you just, weren't born with a good lot in life. And you haven't cried over it. You haven't given up over it. And it's, as I say, for those of us who have had much more fortune in terms of our bodies and the way we got started in life, you are a beacon of saying, I am not going to accept the limitations. With CP, you should not be the strong physical person you are, and the beautiful person you are, by the way. So I admire you terribly, Gabrielle, and I think it's September 7th, not September 9th. Check your calendar, but it's that first September of that first Saturday of September. I think it's the 7th, and we're all going to be walking in Central Park together. Bonnie and I are going to be in the East Coast instead of walking here in LA. So I look forward to seeing you that day. I can't wait.
Michelle Harper says, question from one of those reluctantly labeled millennials who also isn't 35 yet. What do you wish you knew at this age that you know now about health, fitness, aging, and wellness?
Yeah, you know what, Michelle? That's a really good question. I don't like the question, and a lot of interviewers say, what would you tell your young self, to be more evolved? when you're younger. Most of us learn our lessons at the time that in life we're supposed to learn them. As a teenager, they're not going to listen much to a 70-year-old. They're very busy with hormones and with their particular peer group. But nevertheless, I just mentioned the eating thing, and we've talked about the exercise thing. If you let a year go by, let's say a whole year, let's say at your age, you're only maybe 32. If you let a whole year of your life go by where you don't pay attention much, you just, do a bunch of party drugs and drink a bunch of alcohol and eat a bunch of hamburgers and pizza and don't do much real physical exercise, you can probably handle it. You're young, all that tissue responds pretty quickly and recovers pretty quickly. I guarantee you will pay for it. You'll pay for it in your came through. So I think that's the main thing to say to you is treat your body like you love it. Treat it as the beautiful specimen it is. Feed it well and exercise it well, because it'll come back and haunt you if you take it for granted.
Steve Carriere says, "Hi Diana."
Yo, Steve, my Coast Guard man.
Sorry we won't be seeing you at Everwalk this year. Regarding today's topic, I find I'm competing with age for the things I want to accomplish. But the battle is not so much accomplishing the goals as it's not letting my mind overtake my ability to accomplish them.
Yeah, that's a good thing, Steve. And by the way, Steve's a very impressive man who served a lot of years in the Coast Guard for the United States and just has a wonderful outlook on life. And we've walked a lot together. Steve, I miss you. We're gonna miss you on the epic walk for sure. But you're sort of bringing up something that I think every human being suffers from, and that's the little chatter, the little negative chatter. Eleanor Roosevelt had said it best, is that, nobody can tell you can't do things. It's usually you yourself who's in the back there with self-doubts. I think the next TED Talk I do is going to be all about that self-doubt monkey chatter that a lot of us have going on. It's not usually somebody else. It's not a boss or a spouse or a good friend who's always saying, you can't do that, you're not up to that, you don't have enough talent for that. It's usually you, it's us who are sabotaging ourselves to say, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, it's too late for me. So if you just talk that down, if you make all that monkey chatter get out the back of your mind and gone, as a general rule, it's you who comes up with those new positive phrases that, like the little train, I can, I think I can. Just don't let it. As soon as that phrase, I have it. People think, oh, you're always so gutsy and positive, and you think you can do anything. Not always, not at all. I've got that little monkey chatter, and I've got to say, stop it. You think positive, and then you might not make it. You might not achieve your dreams. I'd rather fail trying, and I'd rather keep that self-doubt down and out.
The Penguin Lady says, your tenacity, vision, energy, and youthful energy continually inspire me, and your TED Talks are amazing, as is every speech I've seen of yours. Your book just arrived, and I can't wait to dive in. Thank you for inspiring many of us. And there's a second one. She wrote, OMG, I can't believe you're talking about doing a TED Talk about negative self-talk. It's so true. I've given a TEDx youth talk about that very thing.
Yeah, right? A lot of times, first of all, I don't know what the Penguin Lady means, so maybe you could clarify that while we're talking. But and thank you very much for your comments about my speaking. Young people, like younger than millennials. So what are those generations, Gabby? There's Gen X comes after millennials. Do you know? What are you?
I don't apply to any specific generation.
Okay.
I am multi-generational.
Yeah, there you go.
You
are.
Yeah.
You are evolved to that point. But I guess if people in their 20s, like I just did a talk for WeWork, and a lot of those young people are in their 20s who, go to a WeWork office every day, and the people who actually invested in WeWork were young when it started. And a lot of them came up to me afterwards and said, I have passion. I listen to you and I feel like I got that kind of energy. I have that kind of resolved personality that if I start something, if I believe in something, I go, but I can't find what I believe in. I can't dig up what makes me feel passionate. And I think that there's a magic in beginning something and not being worried about whether you continue on that path and finish it and prove that you're going to finish it if it winds up being something other than your dream. So I think that there is something toward, and Goethe said it well, there's a boldness in beginning things and taking that first step and following that step, and that will overcome inertia, and it'll get your energy fired up. And then if that was the wrong direction, at least you weren't just sitting back waiting for some inspiration, for some angel to come landing on your shoulder to tell you the direction to go in. So I'm not even sure if that's what you were asking to start with. I just got off on that topic for a minute.
The Penguin Lady, to answer your question, she's a penguin expert, TED speaker, and author. Her company is called The Penguin Lady. My book and talk are about her experiences helping to manage the rescue of 40,000 penguins from an oil spill in South Africa.
Oh my gosh. What's the name of your book? Write in again so we can tell people right today.
Called, I'm not sure.
Okay, so write in again so we can say, but congratulations on the work you're doing. Beautiful penguins.
Amy Rouse Segnet says, happy birthday, Diana.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you for inspiring me. I'm going through perimenopause and I have trashed my body with overtraining while not eating enough to support it.
Yeah.
I now struggle with adrenal problems and feeling very frustrated about it. I've been told not to exercise at all for at least a year. Needless to say, not thrilled about these changes. How do I move past this?
Well, I'm not your doctor, okay? So far be it from me to go against what you've been told not to exercise for a year. But from the little you've written, you said that you got into an extreme situation, like anorexics can sometimes, exercising so much and not feeding the body. And now you've got all kinds of organ issues and tissue issues, muscular issues, brain issues because of not feeding the body. So, and since you love exercise, is there a way, and you talk to your doctors and whoever's advising you on this, is there a way to be gentle instead of being that extreme exercise person and extreme denial of the nutrition that you need also? Is there a way to become a very moderate person? So let's say you go out and you take a little backpack and you decide you're going to walk for an hour, but it's not I'm going to burn calories and I'm going to, walk the fastest possible mile I can walk. You go out for a stroll to enjoy it, have your limbs enjoy moving, like if you're going out to walk your doggy down the street, and you've got your backpack, so you've decided to take a book with you and go to a nearby beautiful park, and you go and you read and take in the flowers, take in the blue sky, and today there's a beautiful breeze right here with the leaves blowing around, and enjoy your body instead of working your body. You know what I mean? Change your whole mindset about it. Change eating for yourself. So you would sit down and have let's say a beautiful half a grapefruit. I'm in love with grapefruit. And you cut it, maybe put just a tiny, tiny little layer of honey across the top. I'm just trying to talk you into not being this self-punishing exercise person and then a denying person of beautiful foods. Go gentle on yourself. I'm not good at all that, but it sounds good, and it sounds like maybe something you could use.
Robert Loveman says, as a 63-year-old who turned 60 on an expedition on the Iditarod Trail, 3 things strike me as important. These are far from original. 1, continue learning. 2, do some good in the world. Everybody from Neil deGrasse Tyson to Tim Ferriss points to these. And 3, cherish the living. All of us who are into or past the last part of middle age have lost so many who enriched our lives. The most important lesson of age is that life is ephemeral. I am hoping to continue doing expeditions, but I'm not sure if I'll be up to it. I'm sure we can all incorporate these 3 into our lives. Finally, you are an inspiration to all of these. Thank you.
Well, you are an inspiration as well. Is this Robert?
Robert.
Robert, let's. It's worth going over these again because you lay them out as you say. They're not original to you, but it sounds like you're living them, and what a cherished way to live. So number one was what, Gabby, on his list?
Number one is continue learning.
Continue learning. There you go. Anytime. I don't know about you, but I am the most annoyed with if I meet a type person who knows everything. They have nothing to learn from you or anybody else. They're just here to pontificate, and they think they've arrived somewhere. It's boring. It's unevolved. So continue learning. You continue to be in awe. So there's something every day that you didn't notice before, that you didn't know before. The second was
Do some good in the world.
do some good in the world. Right on. And I think as you get older, I know I'm starting to, feel an overwhelming sort of concern as to what's happening to the Earth's oceans. This was the place that I spent so many difficult but magical hours. Sylvia Earle calls our oceans the lungs of the Earth, and we are suffocating the lungs of the Earth with the plastics, with the overfishing, with global warming and the rise of the oceans and the warming of the oceans. So I don't know. We all feel, sort of frustrated and helpless that we can't change these big issues. Global warming. What one individual is going to solve global warming? Nobody. But if every one of us, 7 billion people on the planet now, at least half of us have some choices every day, 3.5 billion people. If I could just do one little thing, whether it's even awareness about the Earth's oceans, then I'm trying to do some good. So I hear you there. And what was the third thing Robert said?
Cherish the living.
Cherish the living. Cherish the living. Yeah. I just lost a very dear friend, Leanne Schreiber. She would have been 74 just a couple of weeks ago. The first and only woman sports editor of the New York Times, editor of the New York Times Book Review, a brilliant mind, and too young, and talk about cherish the living. She refused, even in those last few weeks of horrible stuff, medical stuff. She refused to focus on her dying. She just brought everybody she knew, everybody she cherished into her life to hear what they're doing and what they want to do. She cherished the living even while she was dying. And it's quite an inspiring story you tell, Robert. And the Iditarod, I don't know if you were in the race yourself. I assume you were. I covered the Iditarod for 10 years. Nome, Alaska, in the middle of February. Oh, my Lord, that was a cold place. So congratulations on the life you're living. It's inspiring, Robert.
Edward Carroll says, "Hello, Diana. Thanks for your inspiring attitude. You and I are the same age within a week. I do a lot every day, but find I don't have as much stamina as I used to. How do you keep up your energy every day?"
First of all, it's good for you to admit, if you take a look at your life and you say, boy, I used to, be able to go all day long and all night long, and now I'm at 3/4 that stamina. We have to get real. I just had a retinal tear. I've never had an eye problem in my life. I have 20/20 vision. My mother, when she died in her 80s, had never worn glasses in her life, so I've been lucky in terms of vision and stuff, but I just had a retinal tear, and the way I understand it from the eye doctor is that, the vitreous humor, the jelly part, the round part of our eye, when we're young, just like the synovial fluid of our joints and, our skin, that vitreous humor, the round part of our eye is very plump and full. It's young, and it presses up against the round retina at the top, and it keeps it in its shape. Well, as you get older, that vitreous humor starts to fade a little bit. It starts to come down and not be as firm and as plump. So sometimes the retina, I didn't have a detached one, but the retina pulled down a little bit, and there was a tear in it, and I had to have a little bit of a minor eye surgery for it. And I only bring this up because I got to get real. I think that I'm strong, and I can get down and do push-ups, and I can swim, and I can hit that tennis serve, etc. But parts of the body are starting to age and fail. So you're saying your endurance has come down a little bit. Either don't let it, either make up some new routines, some new type of exercise so you bump your endurance back up, or accept that and be happy that you were at an extreme endurance level at one time and now maybe you're at 80% of that and you need to rest a little bit more. You need a nap in the afternoon you never needed. So don't be mad about that. Just get real about that.
Speaking of resting, Jonathan Ross says, sleep hygiene. Please share more on this subject. Lack of good sleep is a serious problem.
You know, I'm the worst person, Jonathan, to speak to this issue because, you know, I joke about the fact that my father, who is a Greek, you know, told all us kids when we were little that sleep was overrated. He would get us up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to go do things. And we would say, we got to sleep, Dad. We have school in a few hours. He would say, sleep is overrated. Get up. We're going to go do things. And I've kind of been that person. All my friends say to me, you're sleep deprived. You don't sleep enough. It's the reason your car is running into other cars at red lights when you're tapping them from the back because you're falling asleep in the middle of the day. It doesn't take much common sense. You need more sleep. And I just continue to sleep less than I need. And I know that. I just say to myself, I just refuse to sleep a third of my life away. I'm not going to sleep 8 hours a night. So I sleep between 5 and 6 hours a night. And I feel like that's enough. When I get up, I'm raring to go. I don't struggle out of bed. I bound out of bed. But then I'm up and down tired. I don't know when I've seen a movie. The last time I've seen in a dark room, you know, kind of relaxing back, watching a movie when I've made it all the way through. I have to fall asleep because I'm sleep deprived. And everybody from Arianna Huffington to, you know, most of the health experts in the world say that sleep, as much as nutrition, as much as exercise, is what we need. You need enough. Your tissue needs enough. And your brain needs enough sleep, and I'm the worst violator of that law of health, which is we all need enough sleep. So, Jonathan, what can I say? Maybe I'll start sleeping more, but I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. All right, I think we better wrap up soon. One more, Gabby?
I'll leave it with a comment. How about that?
Okay.
Shavetta Cameron says, love your energy, lady.
Shavetta, love you too. All right, everybody. I got 3 more days to be 69, but you know what? I don't think that way anyway. I just get up every day and I dance as fast as I can. Peace out.